through the first essay exam with you. The first thing to do is go to Assignments. Click on Exam 1. And the first thing you see is instructions. In a thesis-driven essay, what this means is that your essay should have a thesis statement. The thesis statement should be either the last sentence or close to the last sentence of the introductory paragraph. The thesis statement should be an opinion. It should be true but arguable. So an example of a thesis statement that is true but not arguable would be something like this. At the end of Kate Chopin's short story, Desiree's Baby, Desiree takes her baby and walks into the swamp. That is not a good thesis statement because it is a fact. It is true, but it's not arguable. A better thesis statement would be, in Kate Chopin's short story, Desiree's Baby, Desiree's husband, Armand, is fully aware of his racial identity throughout the short story. So that would be a better thesis statement because it could be true. There is evidence in the text to support that reading, but it's also arguable. As we discussed, many of us have a different opinion from that. So that would be a good thesis statement because that is something that you can argue with. I am asking you to choose two texts and to compare and contrast them. So your thesis statement should have something to do with both texts. So if you're choosing, for example, Desiree's Baby and Iola Leroy, you would want to have a true but arguable thesis statement that talks about an element of both of those texts. So successful essays will also include an explanation of how the historical context of these texts affects your interpretation. And for the historical context, I would like to limit you to the notes from class and to the video that we read, that we didn't read the video, of course, that we watched for class about Reconstruction and Redemption. This assignment is not targeting history or research, but it is targeting how you think the historical environment in which these works were produced affects their interpretation. Every essay should have an introduction with a thesis statement at the end, 2 or 3 body paragraphs with your interpretation of textual evidence, and a conclusion. I'm also going to be looking for evidence that you fully understand and have read the works of literature that you are writing about. So I welcome you, and in fact I hope that you reuse some of the writing that you've already done for the in-class writings and discussion posts. Those are intended to help you start building thoughts and text about what we're reading so that you can reuse them and reformulate them for the major assignments, the exams. The essay should definitely be proofread, and they should be free, more or less, of mechanical and grammatical errors. I recommend using the full Microsoft Word program. Each student has 5 free downloads, and using the editor function on that program, it's a really wonderful, robust grammar and spell checker. You should select the style that is academic or formal, and it goes beyond finding typos and spelling errors, and it starts making suggestions in terms of style and clarity. You could also use a proofreading app like Grammarly. However, I think the editor function is just as good as Grammarly, and it is free to us as Suffolk employees and students. So this is the rubric. So you can see how it is scored. You should review that. Pay no attention to this level 4. I don't really know how to get rid of this. I'm going to try, but this overall score just kind of is like a default setting, and you can't, just like in Spinal Tap, you can't go to 11. It only goes to 9. So 9 is the highest score that you can get. I am using Turnitin, which is a plagiarism detection software. It also detects probable AI use. But I'm using it only for prevention. So your essays are not going to be stored in the Turnitin database. They are your essays. I don't think a private company has the right to take your work and use it for their profit. And you will also have an opportunity to review your similarity score. It's going to take me a few days to start grading the assignments, and probably just a couple hours after you submit the assignment, you'll be able to click on it and see what your similarity score is. So you'll be able to review it before I even see it. So all submissions that are received by February 22nd at midnight can be rewritten for a better grade by the end of the semester. So even if you're not quite finished, even if you don't think this is your best work, please submit it by the due date, because then you can rewrite it. I will take all exams until 1 week after the due date. So I will take late work until the 29th. But after the 29th, I'm not taking anything for exam 1, and you'll have to get a 0. This is weighted quite heavily in the syllabus, so getting a 0 on this assignment is going to really negatively impact your grade. You don't want to get a 0 on this assignment. That said, if you don't turn it in by the due date, so let's say you turn it in on the 26th, I won't take points off, I'll still accept it, but you won't have the chance to rewrite it. So it really is worth your while to just turn in what you have by the 22nd, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not quite finished. The important thing is to stay on track and to try. So these are the 2 learning objectives that I'm assessing in Essay Exam 1. And this is the template that you don't have to use this template. I'm just providing it because students often find it helpful to have a template. So let me just wait for it to open up. Okay. So this is, I'm not grading this on MLA format, but just so you know, this is already set up in MLA format. So if you just do a file save as, and then you put your information in, it will automatically be in MLA format. You want to have a title. Usually a good form for a title is some kind of bold statement to gain attention, and then an explanatory sentence so that readers know what you're talking about. This goes through the introductory paragraph. The first line would be a thought-provoking statement that gets your reader's attention. Then you transition by using an example from the text to transition to the literary work. Here is a really great place for a quote from one of the texts that you're writing about. The transition is connecting the big idea that you present in the hook with the actual literary works that you're discussing in your essay. Here, you always want to give the name and author of literary works and some major points, such as where it takes place and when it was written. Here, you might want to use another quote that gets to the heart of the matter that you will write about. Then, this is really important, you want to identify motive. Why is this important? You might try to identify why you think the author wrote this. You might also want to identify why it's important to you and why you think this is important to others. And then finally, your thesis statement is the last sentence. It's true but arguable, encapsulates your main claim, and it's debatable. And for the body paragraph, you want to start with a topic sentence that's going to tell your readers what the paragraph will be about. The basic rule of thumb for paragraphs is 1 idea, 1 paragraph. Each paragraph should be built around evidence. In the center of your paragraph is evidence. So the evidence that we have are direct quotes and actual events that happened in the text. So the text is our evidence, and that's always in the center of the paragraph, and you build the paragraph out from the evidence. So you have the topic sentence, now you introduce the evidence, You want to tell your reader some information about the evidence, what text it's from, who wrote it, where it occurs in the story, publication date, etc. Then you're going to add the quote itself from the primary source text. Make sure you put it in quotation marks and cite the text with an in-text citation. I'm not grading MLA formatting in this one, so if you know MLA, feel free to use it. Otherwise, you can just write page number, or if there's no page number, you can just leave it blank. Finally, don't just drop a quote in there. Your job as a writer is to explain the quote. This is where analysis comes in. So this bottom sentence here, I call it the bottom slice of bread for the quote sandwich. This is really where the work of analysis comes in. So you need to explain the significance of the quote you used and clarify how it relates to your thesis statement. And then in your conclusion, go through, restate your thesis, and summarize your main ideas from each of your body paragraphs. Then, reestablish motive, explain why the claim in your thesis is relevant or important, and if necessary, if relevant, close with a final thought. So this is a place where you can get a little bit digressive. For example, if I were talking about Dayward, I would probably relate it to the migrant crisis, because I see so many similarities between what the characters struggle through in that story and the stories we read about today of young people traversing a very dangerous journey to try to come to a place where they're going to have more opportunities. So that doesn't really have too much to do with the story, but it's my idea, it's my thought. So that's where I would bring it in. I would close with that final thought. This is not necessary. It's not going to be relevant for each of you. But if you have some kind of a final thought that you'd like to share about the text, this is a good place for it. When you go to upload, you're going to go down here. You're going to scroll all the way down. You're going to click on Add a File. Choose the file you want to upload. I'll just choose a random one, click on Add, then you're going to click Submit. After you submit, I'm not actually submitting because I'm not actually submitting an essay, but after you submit, you'll get a confirmation that you submitted it, and you'll also get an email that you submitted it. And please let me know if you have any questions. You can go to the writing studio. You can make an appointment. They have Zoom and in-person appointments. And if you go to the writing studio, either virtually or in person, just make sure that you give me a confirmation that you went, and you get 2 extra credit points. So we will have class on Thursday, so you can ask me questions in class on Thursday, but if you know that you have questions right now, you should go ahead and email me. You can also schedule any time to come into my office between now and Thursday if you wanted to go over your essay in more details. Okay, happy writing. Bye.